Part 1. The History of the Pencil. All right, everyone, buckle up. Today we begin with the thrilling heart-stopping history of the pencil. Yes, the humble stick you probably chewed on in 3rd grade when you were supposed to be learning multiplication tables. The accidental discovery, 1564. So our story starts in 1564 in a small English village called Borrowdale in the Lake District. Local shepherds stumble upon a mysterious black substance sticking out of the ground. They don't know what it is, but they realize one thing: it's great for marking sheep. And if you're wondering, yes, sheep were basically the PowerPoint presentations of the 16th century. Everyone had them, and everyone wanted to label them. Graphite, not lead. Here's the plot twist: the substance wasn't lead. It was graphite. Pure, solid, shiny graphite. But back then, people just assumed it was a form of lead, because science wasn't exactly killing it in the 1500s. So even today, we call the inside of a pencil lead, when really it's just carbon pretending to be metal. The first pencils. The early pencils weren't exactly what you're picturing. Imagine a chunk of graphite wrapped in sheepskin or string. Elegant. Not really. Functional barely. But it worked for marking sheep and jotting down whatever 16th century people needed to jot down. Probably debts, grain counts, or how many witches they suspected lived next door. Italy enters the scene. 1660s. The Italians, being naturally stylish, decided to take this crude idea and make it fancy. They started encasing graphite sticks in wooden holders, usually juniper wood. And boom, the first wood-cased pencils were born. Finally, you could write without covering your hands in black dust. The fashion upgrade was complete. Napoleon versus England, 1795. Fast forward to the late 1700s. England basically monopolized high-quality graphite because Borrowdale was the only major source. During the Napoleonic Wars, France couldn't import it, so a French officer named Nicolas Jacques Conté invented a clever workaround: grind graphite into powder, mix it with clay, bake it, and voila! You could control hardness by changing the clay ratio. This Conté process is still used today. So next time you write with a pencil, you're basically holding a 200-year-old French hack. The Eraser Revolution, 1770s to 1800s. Here's the thing: before erasers, people used bread to erase mistakes. Yes, bread. Which means your school lunch and your math homework could technically come from the same loaf. In 1770, Edward Nairn started selling cubes of natural rubber as erasers. In 1858, Hyman Lipman from Philadelphia combined an eraser and pencil into one magical stick of productivity and distraction. That's right, you could now doodle and erase your mistakes without getting up from your desk. Productivity skyrocketed. Or maybe doodling skyrocketed. Fun pencil facts that nobody asked for. The average pencil can draw a line about 35 miles long. Yes, someone actually measured this. Pencils work in zero-gravity underwater and in extreme heat and cold, which is why NASA considered them before switching to pens for safety reasons. The largest pencil in the world is over 76 feet long and weighs more than 18,000 pounds. You probably shouldn't put that behind your ear. Modern pencils today. Most pencils are made in factories that look like something out of Willy Wonka's imagination, except instead of chocolate, it's wood shavings and graphite dust. The USA, Germany, and Japan still produce some of the highest quality pencils. But let's be real, most people buy a pack of 12 for 99 cents and lose them within a week. Part 2. The Tale of the Eraser. Before erasers, bread was the original delete key. Ancient scribes used wax tablets and styluses, which could be smoothed over to erase mistakes. On paper, people used breadcrumbs, pumice, or even rough stones to scrape away errors. In 1770, Edward Nairn accidentally discovered that natural rubber could erase pencil marks. It was a game changer, though early rubber dried out and crumbled. In 1839, Charles Goodyear's vulcanization process made rubber more durable, and the modern eraser was born. By 1858, Hyman Lipman patented the pencil with an eraser attached for ever-changing desks worldwide. The combo wasn't just convenient, it was iconic. Fun fact, Japan makes erasers in every shape imaginable, from sushi to animals. Sometimes more for collecting than correcting. Part 3. The Paper Journey. Paper began in ancient China around 105 CE, invented by Kai Lun, using mulberry bark, hemp rags, and water. It spread along trade routes, eventually reaching Europe by the 11th century. Before paper, people wrote on papyrus parchment and even bamboo strips. Papyrus was brittle. Parchment was expensive, and bamboo, well, it wasn't pocket-sized. The invention of the printing press in the 15th century boosted paper demand dramatically. Mills evolved from manual pounding to water-powered hammers to modern industrial rollers. Today, paper comes in hundreds of types, glossy, matte, recycled, and even stone paper made without trees. Despite the digital age, global paper production is still massive, with billions of tons made annually. Part 4, The Rise and Fall of the Fax Machine. Gather round, friends, as we explore the rise, the glory, and the oddly stubborn afterlife of the fax machine, the office relic that refuses to die, the early days 1840s, telegraph meets pictures. Believe it or not, the concept of faxing predates the telephone. In 1843, Scottish inventor Alexander Bain patented a device that could send images over telegraph lines. It wasn't great, blurry, slow, and about as reliable as a chocolate teapot, but it worked. Over the next few decades, inventors improved the idea, slowly making machines that could scan a document and recreate it miles away. The telephone age, real fax machines arrive. Fast forward to the mid-20th century. Phones are everywhere, and engineers finally figure out how to make fax machines small enough for offices. By the 1970s, you could send a page in about 6 minutes. Yes, 6 whole minutes per page. That's right, you could make a cup of coffee, read the newspaper, and still be waiting for page 2. The boom of the 1980s and 90s. Here's where fax machines hit their golden age. Offices around the world installed them. Suddenly, contracts, invoices, and badly drawn cartoons could be sent instantly, instantly in the 80s. Cents meaning under a minute. Salespeople loved them, lawyers relied on them, and pranksters also loved them. If you've ever seen a fax loop prank where page 1 says, "See page 2," and page 2 says, "See page 1," you've witnessed peak office comedy. Why faxing was a big deal. The magic of the fax wasn't speed alone, it was legality. In many countries, a faxed signature was considered legally binding. That meant you could close deals without mailing papers or meeting in person. It was a game changer for business. The decline. Then email happened. In the 2000s, businesses realized they could scan and send documents digitally, faster, cheaper, and without the annoying whine of a fax tone. Fax machines started gathering dust in back rooms. The stubborn survival. But here's the twist, faxing never truly died. Some industries still require it, especially healthcare and government agencies. In Japan, fax machines remain surprisingly common. And if you've ever tried to email a government office only to be told, "Please fax us that form," you know, the pain, fun, fax facts. The longest fax ever sent was over 140 feet long. NASA once faxed a manual to astronauts on the space shuttle. In 2017, the UK's National Health Service still had over 8,000 active fax machines. Part 5, The History of Bubble Wrap. Today we unwrap the surprisingly bumpy history of bubble wrap, a product that started as a failure, became a packaging hero, and ended up as the world's favorite stress toy. The accidental invention. In 1957, 2 inventors, Alfred Fielding and Mark Chavan, were trying to create textured wallpaper. They sealed 2 shower curtains together, trapping pockets of air. The wallpaper idea flopped. Shockingly, people didn't want their living rooms to look like they were padded for a toddler. From wallpaper to packaging, the real breakthrough came when IBM needed a way to ship its new computers safely. Fielding and Chavans realized their failed wallpaper was perfect for protecting fragile goods. In 1960, they founded Sealed Air Corporation, and bubble wrap began its reign as the king of packaging. Why it works. Each little bubble acts like a tiny cushion, absorbing shocks and keeping items safe. It's lightweight, cheap, and, crucially, fun to pop. That last part has nothing to do with shipping, but everything to do with why bubble wrap is so beloved. Beyond packaging, bubble wrap has been used for installation art and even fashion. There's a Bubble Wrap Appreciation Day celebrated every January, and yes, people have made wedding dresses out of it, because love should be surprising and slightly squeaky. Fun bubble wrap. Facts. The largest sheet of bubble wrap ever made was over 8,000 square feet. Popping all the bubbles in 1 square foot takes about a minute, unless you're really dedicated. There's a smartphone app that lets you pop virtual bubble wrap. Not as satisfying, but still addictive. Part 6. The Story of the Zipper. Let's zip into the history of one of the most taken-for-granted inventions ever. The zipper. Early attempts. The idea of a sliding fastener goes back to the 1850s, but the first real patent came in 1893 from Whitcomb Judson. His clasp blocker was clunky, unreliable, and more likely to jam than to actually close anything. Still, he tried to sell it as a shoe fastener because nothing says style like a metal contraption on your foot. The big break. In 1913, engineer Gideon Sunback improved the design, adding interlocking teeth and a slider to connect them. This is basically the zipper we know today. He also invented a machine to mass-produce them, which meant zippers could finally go mainstream. Fashion adoption. At first, zippers were mostly used for boots and tobacco pouches. Then, in the 1930s, the fashion industry embraced them for clothes, especially children's wear, because they were faster than buttons. French designers loved them for trousers, claiming they made men's pants more convenient. World War II boost. During World War II, zippers became standard for military uniforms and gear. After the war, they were everywhere, from jeans to jackets to handbags. Fun zipper facts. The word zipper was trademarked by B.F. Goodrich for boots with the new fastener. The name stuck. YKK, the Japanese company on most zippers today, makes billions of them each year. The longest zipper ever made was over 1.25 miles long. Part 7. The Toaster's Journey. Today's breakfast wouldn't be the same without the toaster, but it wasn't always this easy to get golden, crispy bread. Early toasting people have been toasting bread for thousands of years, usually by holding it over a fire with a stick or metal frame. This wasn't just for taste. Toasting made stale bread edible again. The first electric toasters. In 1893, Crompton and Company in the UK made one of the first electric toasters. It could toast one side at a time, and you had to flip the bread manually. Not exactly set it and forget it. The pop-up revolution. In 1921, Charles Strite patented the pop-up toaster. Suddenly, breakfast became hands-free. Drop in bread, walk away, and come back to perfect toast. Well, perfect unless you forgot it, and it burned. The toaster in every home. By the 1950s, toasters were in kitchens across America. Advertisements showed them as the modern housewife's best friend, shiny chrome and ready to impress guests at breakfast. Fun toaster facts. The world record for most slices of bread toasted in 1 hour is over 1,400. Some people collect vintage toasters as art. The phrase to toast someone at a party comes from the old custom of putting spiced bread in drinks. Part 8. The paperclip saga. Small, simple, and quietly brilliant, the paperclip has a surprisingly twisty history. Early fasteners. Before paperclips, people used straight pins to hold papers together. Not great for your fingers or your important documents. The gem paperclip. The paperclip design we know today, the gem, appeared in the late 1800s. It was never patented but became the standard because it was cheap, easy to use, and didn't damage paper. Norwegian resistance symbol. During WWII, Norwegians wore paperclips on their lapels as a silent protest against Nazi occupation, a symbol of unity and resistance. The Nazis eventually banned them, which only made them more powerful as a sign of defiance. Fun paperclip facts. A Canadian man once traded a red paperclip all the way up to a house in 14 swaps. The largest paperclip ever made is over 20 feet tall. Despite its simplicity, the paperclip is considered a near-perfect design. It's never really been improved.